Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Voices and Choices.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, cool. So to the general public, this is Voices and Choices. I am your host, Kelly Kalupandi, and that's my co-host.
This is Benny, and welcome to our second episode of Voices and Choices
First with a guest.
with a guest.
Okay, so the guest that we have today is a young entrepreneur that's into design and is one of the people that we saw on social media doing things that we feel we have to empower and just learn about what her decision making criteria is, just so that we can extend that to other people so that we can also empower their choices. So this person is no other than Mumba from Mweni Interiors.
Yes.
Hi Mumba, welcome. Are you comfortable?
Yes, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Because you have to be. Okay, so I think to kickstart it, is there anything that I've left out in your intro? What would you love people to know?
You said my name. At least they know my name.
What else do I have to know?
Hi, my name is Mumba, and I'm the founder of Mweni Interiors. Mweni is actually my middle name.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was wondering,
Nice.
where does the money come from?
Yes, I have the same middle name as my dad.
Okay, okay. How does that feel?
It's cool.
Okay, no, that's really good. I think to delve into the thick of things, for me personally, there are things that I'm interested in knowing, especially for you as a young person that's doing marvelous work, I
Thank
should
you.
say. And I feel that work has to be extended to the global world so that they know that even as in Zambia as a country, we've got young people that are not just focused on vibes, but they're also entrepreneur oriented and are willing to pursue their dreams. When did this journey start from you? I know you're 22.
Yes, I am.
You're so young. Yeah, when did this journey start for you?
So I would say I did think about starting my own firm while I was studying, but towards the time that I was finishing school, I just thought, let me push my own brand, yes, but still also apply to jobs and then just see which one picks up. So I was lucky enough to be graced with projects that really pushed my own brand, and that's kind of where it started from here.
Okay.
Nice. And you thinking of having a firm, is it that you had people around you that made you think you can have a firm, or what made you think like that in this?
Um, I think I don't like being told what to do.
Nice.
So it's a good thing and a bad thing. But yeah, I just wanted to build something for myself. And knowing I was coming home, I made it a priority to do that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Cool. That's super cool. So I guess during your decision making, during the ebbs and flows of you coming up to this position where you even have a firm, I know there are certain challenges that you encountered being a young person, because I know in the corporate sector, or let me just say in the business world, there's like this misconception about young people. Some of it might be Gen Zs are too playful, right? Why should we give them business? You get what I mean? Gen Zs are maybe like fast foods. They love fast food things. They're microwaved. They don't trust in the process.
Yeah.
So, like for you, starting to come up with that idea of making a decision to own your own firm, what are some of the challenges that you encountered as a young person?
I think a challenge I've encountered and still am to an extent is just learning the environment that I'm in, learning the audience, figuring out who my target market is, who I can sell to, who I can provide my service to, learning where to get things from, because that plays a big role when it comes to designing. When I am designing, I need to know where I'm going to get everything because I'm selling a design and I'm implementing as well. So initially when I started, as I said, as when I was speaking to you guys earlier, I just got here in December,
Yeah.
so I didn't know where to get certain things. I didn't know how much things were, and it hit me quicker than I expected. But over time, I'm learning more and more, and I'm becoming more familiar with the market and how much things are, and it helps also with clients that do have specific budgets to stick to. Yeah.
There's something that I've picked on from how you're narrating everything, because you came in December, and my understanding is, yeah, you haven't been in the country for some time, and now you're
Yeah.
back, like, to settle and start business. Of course, a lot of things have changed in Zambia from the time you went to study up until now. So my takeaway from there is, like, you've got a strong support system. Is it okay for me to say that? How are you managing to figure out where to get the design? Is it that you're deliberate about it, or you've got a support system around you that's empowering you to even pursue your passion?
I think the best decision I made was reaching out before I physically moved here. So before I moved, I emailed quite a lot of companies, just to work with them, partner with them in any way. I sent my work, and I was fortunate enough to get in contact with two really good designers in the space, and they've really mentored me in that way and given me access to their people, which has helped me quite a lot. It's given me a place to start from. So I guess that's where I kind of get my support. I reached out first. I reached out first. I didn't just come in and say, "Oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anyone." I tried to at least put my foot in before I get there. So when I did arrive, I knew that, okay, I'm going to meet this person. I know they do this. They know I do this. They know I'm just starting. So they can help me out. And also just putting yourself in the position of a student. Be open to learn. Don't be cocky. You go so far and you learn more and have access to so much more than you would expect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes, PT, you're cooking.
Yeah.
You're cooking.
And I was thinking as you were speaking, when you start meeting clients, or have you had a situation where 22? That's inspiring. Personally,
it
that's
is.
inspiring
Yeah.
because
Thank you.
for the work that you've done or the work that I've seen so far, I think that's amazing,
Thank you so much.
right? But I'm trying to think of it from the client's perspective. When you have that initial meeting, when they look at you and see that you're young, have you had any different reaction, or they expected somebody older, or somebody? How's their reaction when they get to see you, knowing that somebody who's 22 is able to do something as massive as this, based off the work that you showed them?
I think they I've been I've been received well so far. Also because they see my work before, so they know that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But also I don't try to seem like, oh, I know everything or I have all this experience.
Sure.
With the people I have interacted with, I say it like I just got here,
Sure.
and I'm just entering the market and I'm navigating my way through, but I can design and I can design well, and I'm transparent, and at least they trust me with that and I stick to that. So then age doesn't become an issue because I'm accessible. They can reach me. Where I make mistakes, I take accountability.
Nice.
And I move from there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, because the main reason why I was asking that question is we as young people have a different approach to things. Quite right, experience is something, but we're coming with new visions, new ideas, and it's us now to show the people out there that experience is one thing, but we can also be accommodated and learning from you as we bring what we think we know. So I was thinking from that end to say, okay, how do the clients see you? And I'm glad that they receive you well.
Yeah, no, at least when they ask me something I don't know, I just say, just give me a few days to get back to you on that one. Just leave it in the air. Don't answer if you're not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Don't answer if you're not sure. That's really beautiful. I love how the interaction is going, and I love the nuggets you've dropped so far. one of which is the importance of taking accountability.
Accountability.
I think half of the times we're living in a social media oriented society. So everybody wants to live that reality like it's a highlight reel, like it's an Instagram filter. So the fact that you're accountable shows that you're taking the human aspect of life first, the real as opposed to the ideal. And I think that's really good. Boiling it down to my question now, what are some of your core values, Mumba? Like who is Mumba as a person aside from Mweni Interiors? Because I think we've discussed what it took for you to go into Mweni Interiors, how you're navigating Mweni Interiors. Mweni is a brand, and that brand is being pushed by a person. So, what are your core values as a person?
Ooh, I'm such a people's person. I love people. I love being around people. I really believe that people is where home is. People are where home is. Yeah, I value relationships a lot, and I find life meaningless without the people I care about. That's why I even love working here because it's home. Family is here, friends are here, and you just function differently when you're around the people you care about. And for me, now more on the work side, I love seeing ideas come to reality. As someone who loved drawing for years now, since like primary school, I was fascinated by the idea of having something that I drew come to real life, some from paper to literally a space I can walk in. That is, it's a surreal feeling, and it's so worth it every time I get that opportunity. I hope I'm not derailing, but
I think we're on
Yeah, of
course.
course.
but yeah, I'm somebody who really values people. I value relationships, and I just love the feeling of getting to walk into your ideas and experience your ideas as physical spaces. Yeah.
Wow. Are you really 22? Are you sure?
I am 22. I am 22. It's
Okay.
on my NRC.
Okay, no, I love that because the relationship aspect of your narration is something that Benny and I were even talking about in the morning.
Yeah.
How important it is to have a community of people that you can spend both your highs and your lows
Oh.
with. Like, I think that adds meaning to life.
Yeah.
I know we're living in a society that wants to make it seem like the people that we have as close people are replaceable. It's the illusion of options. Like, don't work things out, don't iron out issues because I can find another Benny, another Mumba somewhere else. So you just touching there and seeing that that's one of the core value that's speaking into why you are now as a person just explains how one fits into the other. You get my point. It's important to have people, and that's something that young people should know. It's important to be accountable to stuff. Like it doesn't. You don't have to be a douche in society.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to be respectful
Yeah.
and all that. And I love that. I don't know, Benny.
Yeah. I love the fact that you spoke about drawing
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think artists and just people, creatives in general, have got this common base where they get to express themselves. And for drawing and painting, it always fascinates me how somebody can envision something and manifest it on paper. And when I think to myself, I believe I can't do that. Okay, not I can't do that, but I just haven't spent time to do that. But in designing, how do you bring those ideas that you have in your head and just put them on paper? Like, where is your starting point? Because I'll think of it like from music, because I understand music. So for music, you can have a melody in your head and you can easily put it out like on a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. So like you're able to put the sound there and you can try and error with those things. But from the designing point of view, how do you have something, a picture that you have in your head? How do you bring it out to life? You know, and from drawing and also in designing. So I'd just like to understand how the process is.
You know, it's so crazy. Whenever I get a new project or I have to just design something new, I'm always blank in the beginning, like completely blank, until I look at what's required in the space. So I always just start with, okay, what needs to be here? And then I see how can I twist it. It's good to try and pick your brain as much as possible before you start looking for inspiration. Like let yourself come out a little bit. Like you kind of squeeze yourself like a lemon. Like let the juice come out first, and then when you run out, then go look for inspiration. So with me, I just stick. I just keep myself there for some time until something comes out. Whether I scribble, whether I just draw, whatever comes to mind, anything random, whether I start coloring. I just give myself that space, and then when I really feel like okay, I'm blank, then I'll go look for inspiration, pick and choose here and there, and then make it my own. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are talking about the imaginative aspect of us people as creatives. I believe we're created to create
Yeah.
as people. And this is a concept that has been mesmerizing me since I was young, right? It's an idea of the power of the mind. Because when I look at you, Mumba, and see the things that you've done, right, in terms of designing, that's stuff that's existing in your mind. It's like you dream and then you leave when you wake up. And that's a superpower that people don't understand they can tap into. And if you notice, I always love bringing situations home, right? If you notice the agenda that's being publicized in the world, it's everything that deals with distorting the human mind of a young person, right? Because it's like society at large knows that if you can control the mindset of a person, you've controlled the person entirely. And the fact that your mind creates and then it brings out, it revolutionizes society. It's important for young people to understand why they have to protect their mental, why they have to feed themselves with right things, why they have to learn the right things, why they have to empower their minds, be it with medicine, with business ideas. Not that you don't have to be empowering your mind with entertainment, but that it's important that your mindset is focused on things that will add value to society. And that's why I really appreciate what you're doing. I think as voices and choices, earlier I was explaining that the concept that we have on the podcast is to present to the global world, right? What sort of products we have in Zambia. It's not just people that are making vines that exist in Zambia. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's not just musical people that are existing in Zambia, but we also have young people like you that are passionate about what they do. And the road hasn't been easy. There've been mistakes here and there, but you keep on keeping on. Speaking of that, yeah, what have been some of the mistakes that you've encountered as as a designer? Oh, firstly, take a break and
And eat. No, we're talking. We're talking.
I'll lead the way.
alright, cool.
I'll share two. A mistake I made and a mistake I was saved from, maybe. I think so. So the first one, a mistake I made when I recently started on one of my projects. I was told about the budget of the project, and I went and I spent hours and weeks designing, but because of not knowing, like I said, the local market and cost of materials and labor and what's involved, I ended up making the client fall in love with a design that was not within their budget at all. So then now I had to go back and change the design, hoping they'll still like it. And they did in the end, but I know that that's not what they wanted initially. They really liked the first design. So I'm learning with that one. But the truth is, your mind doesn't design on a budget. You're not creative on a budget. You just do your own thing. But we learn over time. Now I know how much certain things cost. I won't include them, no matter how nice they are, just to accommodate what the client wants at the end of the day. And then a mistake I was saved from was there was an incident where a client of mine was transporting their own items, and in transit the vehicle caught on fire, as in the entire vehicle. So whatever was in it was burnt, and they also lost a lot of money. And in that case, I was saved because I didn't hire the transport. I was not involved in moving the items whatsoever. They wanted to handle that on their own. But I thought of it like, in future, I'm going to have to move things around. What measures have I put in place to protect myself if something like that happens? And then I realized I don't have anything in place. So if it was me who's hired said company to transport those things, I would have been screwed and I would have owed that client thousands. So that was something I was saved from, thank God.
Thank
But
God.
I learned from it, definitely.
That's amazing. Those are good and important lessons, right? They're very good and important lesson. From the first one, there's something that I love about how you're explaining things, right? And it's this attitude of awareness in your tone, right? It's an attitude of, okay, look, guys, even when I'm doing business, there are times when I don't know this,
Yeah.
and I'm transparent enough to take accountability for that. And there's also this attitude of, guys, look, even when I know stuff, sometimes I screw up and I learn from it. You get what I mean? And for me, that's what's major from this conversation that we've been having. I don't know if Benny has anything to contribute at this juncture.
Oh yeah, I was thinking when you spoke of budgets.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because I
As an
think
accountant,
because most times we people try to go with this much of a budget and want the output to be this much.
Yes.
So for you, I like how you said, even though you know how much, now you know the cost of the products and you know how much this will look nice, and you just restrain. But I think from a creative point of view, how easy is that for you to just pull back as like,
It's
this-
not easy.
Okay. It's not
It's
easy.
not easy, no. You always want to go crazy. And I'm also learning and accepting that sometimes you won't always do what you want. There's other people involved and you're providing a service. Yes, as much as you're showcasing your talent, you're meeting someone's need. I like to think of my job as kind of being a translator in a way, because the client communicates what they need from you and you make it tangible. You make what they need tangible, not what you like, you know? So
that's
you
good.
have to remember that.
That's good.
That's a big one.
That's good. That's a good nugget. I'm trying to digest that. I'm trying to digest that. I think I like that you asked that question because this will make good news. It will make good TV. Yeah. But circling back to our conversation, there's something that I would love to know. Young person, right? You studied in South Africa.
Yes,
right?
I did.
How was it adapting in South Africa?
Oh, so I moved to South Africa when I was 5. So
Oh,
I've been
okay.
there for some time. And then I came back here last year, December.
Wow.
So most of my life is that side. Most of what I know is that side.
Okay.
And it's just now that I'm learning home again. And it makes it easier that I have family around. That side was just direct family. But at least now I can see my uncles and my aunts and grandparents. Yeah. So school that side was fine. I would say primary school I went to quite a mixed school, so had blacks, whites, Indians. It was mixed. High school was majority white, but then towards the end I think there was a pretty good blend. And then university was definitely more black. And that's where I can say I really felt that culture shock. Like, okay, now you're in the real world. Now you interacting with a lot of different cultures, different languages, different environments. You're not at home anymore. You're not going home every day. So I think I really only felt it, like felt the culture shock and the difference when I was in university. And initially I was nervous. I was a little bit scared, but towards the end, I loved it. I loved the experience. I loved learning the languages. I loved having friends from different backgrounds. University is really real life. Yeah. So, no, I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Okay, that's really good. I think I like that you mentioned that you're in South Africa for a long period of time. I would love to ask you this question, right? Being in two different nations and in retrospect, having experienced different cultures, so that's basically people coming from different nations, I presume, right? What can you pinpoint as something that makes young people not pursue their passions? Having interacted with diverse groups of young people.
I think we consume a lot of content generally. But all of us, we consume a lot of content. We know what everyone is doing, but you don't know what you're capable of. You don't know what you can do.
Wow, that's the word.
People don't sit with themselves enough. We scroll on our phones thinking, oh, I'm just looking for inspiration, or but we don't sit long enough to really dig into who am I, this body that I live in. Who's me? What am I capable of? What am I good at? And how can I move with that? Which is also something I'm working on, just consuming less so that I can produce more authentic work, because we really consume a lot. I was even told once by a designer, another interior designer, who said that they don't look at other interior design content whatsoever, because you start mimicking everyone and we don't see your voice in anything, we don't see your ideas in anything. So I think what holds a lot of us back is just consuming too much of what other people do, because now you're comparing one person to 1,000 other people, and you already feel inferior. You already feel like I can't beat that, because it's one versus 1,000. But if you block that out, you really give yourself more space, and you're more open to taking risks and learning and pursuing your goals, I guess. Yeah.
You saw me smile as you were saying all that, because there are 2 points that I picked up, right? Consuming less to produce more authentic work.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much, because, as you rightfully put it, I feel one of the reasons that young people don't pursue that passion is boiled down to the fact that they have an identity crisis. Because, like, we're living in a global village now. It's possible for me to know what a young South African my age is doing. You get what I mean? As opposed to a long time when our parents were growing up, it took ZMBC news that only came at 19 hours for them to know what's happening in the country. But for us, before they tell it on news, we've already seen it on Twitter, or we've already X now, we've already seen it on IG. And I feel the reason we're not passionately pursuing what we want boils down to our identity crisis that's existing among young people. And like you rightfully put it, in order to escape that trap of identity crisis, we have to sit down with ourselves a lot. Like, you have to ask yourself all these existential questions. What am I here on earth to do? You get what I mean? But because
reality check.
You get me? But because there's so much noise No one, or generally most people, don't sit down with themselves and just ask like, okay, cool, I've had this much fun, but what am I really designed to do?
Yeah.
You get me? I feel like as a designer, I'm a church person. Like I grew up in a family that's fully Christian, right? And my parents have taught me this narrative between God as a creator and creating us human beings for a purpose. Because every creative person, right, has an intended person for their creative works. And I love that I'm speaking to you who's a designer, because it can boil down to how people can fight an identity crisis. It's basically going to your creator and asking like, okay, Mumba had this idea for Mweni Interiors in her mind. Only you can intend the purpose of the ideas that you have, right? Unless I'm mistaken.
No, it's true. I think people assume that they have to gather all this information to figure out who they are and take this from one person, take this from another person. But for me, I think the most powerful version of yourself is the most raw version of yourself, stripped from everything, whether it's experiences, whether it's, just other people's lives. Who were you before you knew anybody? That's the most powerful version of yourself. That's the most untainted version of yourself. And it's difficult to get back there, to try and figure out who was I before the bad experiences, who was I before people spoke down on the things I liked doing, because I can give an example. Even my mom knows, every time I'd be drawing like at home, my dad was like, these things will take you anywhere. Like you should stop this drawing thing, because that back then it was still it was a
not,
talent that was brewing. We didn't know where it was going. So in that moment, he probably just thought, why is she always drawing flowers? Or why is she drawing cakes today? Why is she drawing shoes today? But something was brewing, something was cooking up from, it was still like a seed almost, and it had to be cultivated away from the negative comments, away from, what does this person think? What does this person think? I had to build that. I had to build that skill and let it grow, irregardless of what people said, to get here, And funny enough, even for him, like after some time, when I started studying and he started seeing my work and seeing that, it went from little drawings and sketches, and now it's spaces that people can experience and live in. It clicked. Yeah.
I don't want people to miss this part of the segment, because I feel it's important, because it's more than Benny, you, and myself. It's speaking into the larger crowd, like the youths that are watching. I love that you're talking of just becoming fully naked as a person and going down to who you were before the public opinion. There's a concept that my basketball coach would often tell me, especially when we are in fourth quarter. So basketball has 4 quarters. The fourth quarter is the final one. And usually the fourth quarter is a quarter where everyone's exhausted, right? And when you're a young person and you're playing basketball, you go to maybe female schools, right? And like the whole basketball court is surrounded by girls that are screaming, and then you are in the arena playing. And obviously the noise distorts the intention of the game, right? It distorts the purpose of the people that are on the field. So my basketball coach every fourth quarter would tell me like, Kelly, block the noise and just play the game. You get it? I mean, like, play the game. These people outside will tell you you're good. Others will scream you can't make the basket. But you who's on the field, what's your intention of the play? And I feel it boils down to what you've been saying. Like, even as you are sitting in a global village, because truth is, people will always speak, you get it? I mean, and a lot of people won't believe in you, but that person shouldn't be you get what I mean? At least if you have a lot of naysayers and skeptic people around you, be that person that goes back to themselves and taps into their potential, because it's you who sleeps with yourself at night. I
That's
really
true.
love that. I really love that we've highlighted that about young people.
It's almost like growing, like a plant growing on the wall. Even if one brick is skew,
Yeah.
it's still gonna grow up the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You still have to find your way and really like give yourself room to grow.
Yeah.
I'd say something I do sometimes is like look at baby photos of myself
Yeah.
or just like photos of younger me. And it's just, you ask yourself, am I not going to do what I'm passionate about because people are talking? Or am I going to make sure I make that version of me proud to know that I took it somewhere and I gave it a chance, you know?
Wow, ladies
been amazing.
and gentlemen. Wow. I don't know if you guys are enjoying the conversation as much as I am. At least she's finally getting a chance. Yeah, I think I'm really amazed and inspired. Ben.
Yeah. No, I love the fact that we're talking about us knowing ourselves and growing and just blocking out the many voices that might come from out there. But I want to come in and act as a devil's advocate and just think of those people that bring that positive drive to it. So I'm sure you do have that inner circle within you that keep you going, maybe at your lows or moments you feel less motivated, and just have somebody behind you tell you say, you know what you're capable of doing. So how is your selective process? Who do you know who to bring in, or who do you know who to allow at what point to be able to speak to you in a certain way, especially about this passion that you have?
So good.
One thing I've learned the hard way is that you can't pick and choose who should be there for you at certain times. And there was even a pastor who once told me, he said, no one will be there for you the way God will. So the best thing you could do is go to God and let him bring the right people forward.
Wow.
I like
You
that.
can't choose. You really can't choose. You can have a faithful partner, but maybe your partner's not meant to deal with every single issue you have. Maybe your aunt is supposed to be there at a certain time. Maybe it's a grandfather. Maybe it's a stranger. Let God use the right people that are meant to be there at that time, and don't be upset for people. Don't be upset with people for not being available every single time. I used to be very, very dependent on people, and so I'd hurt myself when they're not available for me. And I had to learn the hard way. I think God used to isolate me a little bit to say, no, come back. Come back. Tell me what's wrong. Let me bring the right people forward. Stop forcing people to heal you when that's not their mission at that time.
You know why I'm amazed by this concept, eh? I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was journaling stuff down. And then I was trying to explain this concept to a colleague of mine to say half of the times as people, we make the mistake of putting people in the position of God, right? And when I'm reading scripture, the Bible tells me that it is God who's the provider. It is God who's the sustainer. It is God who gives this love that casts out fear, right? But immediately you put a person in a role that they can't fully execute. You're harnessing heartbreak. And that's how come people now are like, we hate each other because like, oh, Mumba didn't deliver the way I expected her to deliver. But then you wanted Mumba to be the Holy Spirit that directs you to the right path. But that's not Mumba's role, right? Mumba has a different role as a person. And I think it's important to highlight that. I like that you brought in the concept of you showed up for so many people and you got heartbroken when they didn't do the same. I feel like I felt that at one point in my life. I think last year was like that for me. Why you feel like people owe you something, but like, why are you behaving like that? And then it breaks your heart, and then you lose people. Alternatively, there's friction and whatever. But then over time, when you're looking through the rearview mirror, you're like, that wasn't their role to play, and you realize that you're unfair, not only to them, but also to yourself. You want being a good steward for your life. And I love that.
I think even with what you've said, a lot of us are very transactional, and we want to get back from the people we gave.
Whoa.
And when, yeah.
Ish, that hits home. Yeah.
I think I even still make the same mistake. But the truth is, are you giving because it's who you are or because you want something back? You know? And for me, after some time, I just said, you know what? I won't always get back from certain people. Some people won't see how much you've given to them, but I'm going to give because that's who I am.
Who you are, yeah.
Not because you're going to give me something back. I will give and I will receive from God whatever alley that comes from, whatever direction that comes from. Because like I can say proudly, I have been blessed. And I never always know where it's coming from. But I know that I get back what I give. It's not always from the same person, and but God gives back. God gives back when you just give as yourself, not expecting from each and every person. Not expecting back from the same people all the time. You get back from God.
I really love that, Mumba, because it speaks into the nature of God even. Like God's relationship with us isn't transactional, it's relational. Like He gave us His only Son and chose us while we were sinners, right? Like we had nothing to give Him, you get it I mean, except backlash, except bruises, except the crucifix, you get it I mean. But He extended everything that makes Him who He is. And I feel it brings us back to the concept of setting Him as the primary standard in everything we do. When I look at society, it's kind of hurtful. I've made many mistakes when it comes to living life and ill-treating people and losing sight of the work of God, while you put yourself in a position where you want to control people. I've made that mistake, but over time you realize that in this world, Mumba and Ben, nothing will sustain us if it's not God. Like even us sitting here, people will hear your story as a 22-year-old young lady that's doing marvelous things, and they'll be like, oh no, this person is gifted you are. But then even the concept of setting God as what's pivotal in your life also spreads out to every area of your life. When you look at us setting up this podcast, how we're here together is God's grace. It's not our skill, it's not our talent. It's because we have an intention and we're passionate about young people and also just improving them. I love this conversation.
I like how things have just turned out, and the way we spoke to say, to be honest, when you responded with that answer that you gave, it just felt amazing, because it just took us back to us realizing to say, if we need to have anything else, we need to seek God first.
Yes.
And that was just applauded as like, this is amazing.
No, it's true. Even when you spoke of just why we don't pursue our dreams and our goals, I think because we have so much exposure to other people glorifying themselves, we don't see
No, chill. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, cooking.
I hope I don't forget my statements. I think now when they look at pursuing their dreams, they're not looking at how can I be a steward, how can I serve it, how can I be glorified at the end of this, how can I be this big person, this boss lady, or this they're looking at the title and the accolades and the how people are going to look at me, but you're not looking at how you are of any value to any other person other than yourself.
Nice.
We're stuck in how am I going to look as this great person? And it's like, no. That's your pride, and you won't move anywhere as long as you switch your. As soon as you until you switch your perspective. I think the best place to start from when it comes to pursuing your dreams is understand that you're serving other people. When we have to cut it down and like put and define our purpose as one thing, it's stewardship.
Service.
You're serving other people.
Nice.
So stop looking at the title, stop looking at what people are going to call you and how many followers you're going to have. What value are you giving to anybody else other than yourself?
Exactly.
You know.
And I love that, Mumba, because it separates the Pharisees from Jesus. Like the Pharisees mocked Jesus because of how he came. They were saying they expected the Messiah to come dressed in good robes and jewelry, right? But he came as a carpenter's son. I feel biblically it speaks into the concept that you're trying to transcribe, you know. It's a concept of, I didn't come here for the accolades or the title. I came here to serve people and ultimately save people. You get what I mean? And that's what Jesus did. And I love that. I feel like the whole narrative around us pursuing our passion as people boils down to these concepts that we've highlighted. One, God has to be the center. Two, it's stewardship, it's service. It's even just going back to yourself and asking yourself, what do I love? And what do I want to do
share.
with this thing that I love? You know,
That's
the
true.
intention.
That's nice.
That's true.
That's really nice. Because
The face you're making.
I know
My
this.
bad.
I love how it's going.
My bad.
I love how it's going. Because
No,
Me
me
too.
too.
Kelly and I were having this conversation in the morning, and I told him to say, no matter what happens, let's not forget who we are
Yeah.
and the reason why we're doing this. Because obviously, with what we started, we believe this is something that's huge, and so many people are going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
And so many good things will come along with this. But if we don't see where we're going and the reason why we're doing this, we'll lose sight of it.
No, it's true. If you put other people first, God will put you first. And people get mad. People get mad. It's true. It's so true. When you put other people first, God prioritizes you because He knows you're moving, you're making impact.
Yeah.
When you want to you're waiting to hype yourself up before you do anything. It's like, no, that's not the point.
No, that's hitting home, and there are a lot of lessons to learn from there. You know, you guys, we can go the whole day talking
That's
about
true.
about this topic, because it's like when Mumba builds, I build, baby builds. Like we won't stop building. So Mumba, I think this segment is a segment where we allow you to ask us a question.
Oh, okay.
If you have any, one or two, to either one of us, you know.
When are you hiring me?
When do you want to be hired?
Tomorrow.
No, you're hired. You're hired. You're hired.
Okay, let me think of a question.
Okay.
What's the biggest take you want people to get from your content?
I think the biggest take that we want people to get from our content is the idea of possibility.
Okay.
I think in a nutshell, that's all I want people to know. That it's really possible. You get it? I mean, because Mumba, of course, people see your stuff on TikTok, right? They see your stuff on Instagram, but no one has seen a lengthy video of what it takes for you to do that, right? So this platform has given you the possibility to explain that to other people, and has also given the possibility to another person to learn how to navigate through their desire and their passion. So just boiling it down to that one thing, it's possibility.
Yeah. And just to add on that, personally, like for me, I think I would get more inspired from somebody who's close to what I am than somebody who's way miles ahead. Because if somebody who's close to what I am is able to do something massive, it means I'm capable, which brings in the possibility. But many of the times we hear people who are great out there, we've got great designers who say, okay, these are architects that did this beautiful thing. And you think to say, okay, for me to get there, or how did they get the tender to do that? But if I'm here sitting with somebody who's done great stuff I'll be like, it's possible. I'm able to do that. So that's one thing we're trying to bring out there. And also, like I said on last time we spoke, it pains me when I see a lot of content that's not beneficial to us. Right? It's not beneficial to us, and we've got that power to do something good that other people benefit from. So I feel everybody, even the way you're doing it on TikTok and any other platforms, I encourage you to go on and do that because it will cast the net and just cover a very broad ground, and many people will be inspired by what you're doing. So I'd just like to commend you for that and keep doing
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for asking that question, Mumba. And I think we had this question, this interaction before we pressed record. I was just saying, like, there are a lot of young people that you know, there are a lot of young people that I know that are doing many things, but then we haven't been given the platform to tell our stories.
Yeah.
You get it? I mean, so by virtue of us having you here, it opens the doors for those young people that, you know, we can bring and they can speak to the world, and then we'll stack up that content as young Zambians that are trying to change the narrative in society, and we'll build a community of people that are feeding off each other. So now, when I'm working in my corporate space, right, and I hear a client tell me, I need someone who should design my house. I'm picking up the call and I'm saying, I've got a friend that will do that. You get it? I mean, and I'll tell them, okay, if you really want to see if this person is legit, here is a handle. Here's the YouTube video. You can hear her story and see her core values and how she thinks. You get it? I mean, and that way, we're not only pushing our personal brands forward, we're also empowering a nation to make sure we change the narrative that big people have to say, oh no, Gen Zs, all they love is vibes. Fast forward, it's Bugatti, it's junk food, it's sleeping around and all that. You get it? I mean, I really appreciate that we're here. So to close up the segment, I have a challenge for you guys.
Okay.
I have a challenge for you guys. I don't know how we'll do this. Each one of us has to give advice to young people in a minute. We'll start with Benny.
Okay. So to everybody listen, not just young people, but everybody who's listening out there, I still stand on the point with start with what you have. You go out there and learn from people who are close. Don't limit yourself to saying, no, I can't learn from this person. I'm sitting with Mumba here who's doing great stuff, and you've got peers amongst you, and the mistake that you can make is envy from a distance. We're listening to a song this morning, and it's like, if you're the smartest room and if you're the smartest guy in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So if you find somebody who's doing great and doing good, learn from them and don't speak ill of them from a distance. So one, learn from them, and from there, start with what you have. Do with what you can, learn as you progress, and you get to a point where it'll be fruitful and meaningful, you know. And
that's very beautiful. Mumba, it's your shot.
I don't even think I'll hit a minute. Let me let me try. I'll say two things. One thing I mentioned earlier, and that is put other people first, and God will put you first. God will prioritize you. Prioritize on serving other people, and you'll really see God move. You'll really see His hand move, and you'll really see favor like no other. Then I'll share another statement someone told me, which is that actions build confidence. Stop letting your dreams die a natural death in the planning phase. Do and then think later. Do at least and give yourself the opportunity to learn, to make mistakes, and to figure out what works for you. Yeah.
You guys are really, you've set the bar. I don't even know what I have to tell people now.
Live, love, laugh.
Live, yeah. I'll end with live, love, laugh. Yeah, live, love, laugh. But I think one important thing that I would just love young people to learn is to go back to yourself. I feel don't focus so much on what's happening in other people's lives that you don't take stewardship over your own. I think I'll end there. And lastly, leave.
Love.
What do we say?
Love.
Thank you so much. From us, it's bye.
Bye.
Cool.
See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Wow, guys, this was super cool.
It was amazing.
That was fun.
That was fun.